What's up, YouTube? We got another video game video to do today. I know, lots of these, right? Today I wanted to talk about whether or not you should buy a Nintendo Switch, in my opinion, in 2020. So, it's 2020. The Switch has now been out for almost 3 years, 2.5 years. Pretty solid lineup of games. I complained about it a lot when I first got it, and when my son and I first got it, and I still feel like my complaints are valid. But let's talk about what Nintendo does right and what they do wrong, and whether or not purchasing a Switch in 2020 is the right decision. So, the Switch. Obviously, Nintendo's only offering this generation, if you're going to say that, is both a handheld and it docks and is a console as well. A neat concept, however, in practice, let me explain. So, we have this Switch. We got a lot of accessories, and I have little kids, okay? So, my 4-year-old, who's soon to be 5, and my 6-year-old, who's soon to be 7, they like to play video games, much like their father. Imagine that. They, however, can't play. I don't let them play games where there's blood and gore and mutilation and stuff like that. And yes, you know, they play Little Big Planet and Rayman and all the stuff that's on, you know, your Xbox and PlayStation and all that stuff. But for the most part, it seems like, to me, Xbox and PlayStation tend to cater to the games that are rated mature, for the most part. I don't buy mature games on purpose, but it seems like 90+% of titles are rated mature. Most titles my kids can't play, and kids' games, honestly, are pretty quick to get through, and my son does kind of tear through them pretty quickly. So, if you have little kids, the Switch is really where the kids' games are, you know? You get your Mario games, you got a lot of Sonic stuff is on here. Same thing with pretty much all Kirby. All of the Nintendo properties are very kid-friendly. And the only place to play Nintendo properties is on the Nintendo system. Now, you know, that is what it is. I guess you have to buy a PlayStation to play God of War, but at the same time, you know, PlayStation's a mainline console competitor, whereas Nintendo is gimmicky stuff. This is gimmicky. It just is. This is a gimmick. The fact that it can switch, it's a gimmick. So, should you buy a Switch in 2020? If you have little kids and you don't have a Switch and your kids are into games and want to play games and you don't want them just playing games on a tablet because that can either be expensive for you or it can be dangerous for them because, you know, you don't know who's on chat rooms or whatever. They're just playing games on the internet on a tablet. You know, that's a little bit, that could be sketchy. It really is. You have little kids and stuff, yeah, I would say, especially if they're 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, want to play, yeah, I'd say the Switch is the way to go. You know, you got lots of kid-friendly games, more kid-friendly games on Switch than on a lot of other platforms. They're a lot easier to access as well. Now, there's two versions of the Switch. There's the full-fat $300 version that docks, it goes on the TV, and if you have more than one kid, or if your kids have kids come over and play, it's probably the way you gotta go, because they're going to want to play multiplayer, and while, yes, you can hook it all up and play it on this tiny little screen and do that, and I've seen them do that, and my son does that for fun reasons or whatever, but for the most part, if you're playing multiplayer, your kids want to play Smash Brothers with their friends when they come over to play, because they have play dates with their friends to come over and play Smash Brothers. It's what happens in my house. You're going to want the full fat one. That's $300. Is it worth the $300? No? But you're pretty stuck otherwise. So, not really worth the $300, like I said, especially as much. It basically burns down to ending up becoming more expensive for less power and content than something else. Now, if you don't have kids, no, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you do, full fat version, especially if they're coming over. However, where Nintendo shines and where they shine every generation is in the handheld. So my son plays this 95% of the time in handheld mode. Just does. If that's going to be the case, I would recommend getting a Switch Lite. Because the full fat one, while being expensive at $300, is also, you know, sort of these come off. It's got pieces to lose. It's got, like, while this hasn't broken, and it isn't broken, it's one of those things where docking it the 5% of the time that he does to play that, you know, we're going to break these Joy-Cons at some point. We're probably pretty close. I'm going to have to replace those. Not that replacing controllers isn't a thing that happens to things that get a lot of use. As you can see, this gets a lot of use. See what's worn in. But I would definitely, I think I would have gone for a Switch Lite instead. Switch Lite is $200, plays pretty much all the same games, and it's one solid piece. Now, it's a little bit smaller, so, I mean, I have a hard enough time playing games like this on the Switch. I don't really play the Switch very much. I play a little bit, and when I do, I play on the screen with my son whenever he wants to play. But I have a hard time playing handheld. I feel like I play a lot worse handheld on these little buttons and stuff. It's really hard comparatively to being on a controller. But if, as far as a handheld, or as far as a like portable goes, like a handheld portable gaming console, the Switch is probably the best one that's come out since the Vita, and it's supported better than the Vita is. Now, as far as the Switch Lite's concerned, it'll play all the same games, so you could play Mortal Kombat 11, albeit in slightly lesser resolutions, on the go. Pretty much the same game entirely, you know, not as graphically intense as it would be on a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox 3 or an Xbox One, but still basically the same, and it's on a smaller screen, so you don't really notice the lesser graphicalness to it. Plus, The Witcher 3 is on here now, so for adults, there is some stuff, there's a good bit of stuff on the Switch. But for the kids, who are mainly the ones who are going to be carrying it around playing handheld, the Switch Lite, I think, is really the way to go if you're not going to be playing with your friends at your house very often. Like, if you're basically, if they're just going to play with their friends online, handheld's the way to go. The Switch Lite is smaller, it's lighter, it has less moving pieces, and all the games work for it. Get all the kids' games and all of that stuff. You know, you can debate whether or not they're going to play better on the full-fat version of the Switch, but the fact that we're not getting a Switch Pro this year, or like just a standalone, hey, plug this in and put the games in, is the way to go. So, big Switch, probably wouldn't recommend it for 2020. Switch Lite, probably would if handheld and kids and whatever is your thing, because that's really, I think, where it's at. I think that's really, and moving forward, I think that's really where Nintendo's going to stand out. The Switch is going to really more or less be the handheld of this generation, much like the 3DS was of the last generation, and, you know, Game Boys before that and before that. So, handheld stuff is really where Nintendo shines. As far as console gimmicky stuff is concerned, this is still really expensive for that. But at $200, and you can get them, you know, sometimes around 180 used for the Switch Lite. That, I think, is really the better way to go if you don't need all of the features of the full-on Switch. I feel like the full-on Switch, while being $100 more expensive and having more features, is not as practical as the Switch Lite. So, would I recommend the full-on Switch in 2020? No. Would I recommend the Switch Lite in 2020? Absolutely. And that's where we're going to end the video today. So, let me know what you think. Full Switch or Switch Lite? You think it's worth it in 2020? I think for the Switch Lite and moving forward, that's probably the way to go. The full-on $300 Switch, it's about to be left in the dust probably by the end of the year. So probably not the best investment at this point, but the Lite is cool. So thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. Cheers to you. I'll see you next time.